What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we're going to have a presentation for Smash Bros, specifically for the hero, who should be showing up in Smash relatively soon. See, Nintendo actually seemed to leak the release date for the big update that probably will have the hero. We're going to talk a bit about how all that went down, and I guess what you can look forward to pretty soon. We'll say that. Does look like we also had a release date for Super Lucky's Tale, which is getting a bit of an alteration in new Super Lucky's Tale, and it seems that we may have heard about the Order 1886's sequel, and now it's been kind of walked back. So a lot of stuff to go over today. As always, guys, doing these videos, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed if you want to stay up to date on all the gaming news that goes on. Do this every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And we're actually going to start today with that partnership between Microsoft and Sony, or at least that kind of handshake agreement that's currently going on for Sony to use Microsoft servers and data centers in Azure for their game streaming. What they want to do with, I assume, PlayStation Now going forward to be similar to what xCloud is, or at least going to be, as been described, to where, of course, you stream everything. But what's interesting about this is Mr. Nadella, for the, of course, CEO of Microsoft and everything, talked a bit about it actually being Sony who was mostly driving the idea and trying to make all of this happen, specifically talking a bit about how their partnership kind of came together because Sony was really looking for a partner who could help them get a lot of this done, not necessarily Microsoft going out and looking for Sony, the other way around. And I'm not really surprised to hear about that, considering it's going to be we're going to go into an age, I think, in gaming where it is going to be, we talk about the console wars, it's going to be like the streaming wars or the cloud wars. We've heard crazy stuff like Walmart looking into game streaming, right? It seems like if you have enough money, there are places that you can pretty much become parts of with data centers and everything. You could go to Microsoft with Azure, or I guess Amazon, or other places that have these massive data farms, Google even, and you can have your own game streaming service if you can front the money. So I think that's what's going to happen. Sony's just jumping on board now, getting everything established because they just want to worry about building really good games and a good console, not necessarily building out this massive infrastructure and all these data centers and everything. We also found out a bit more about what IO Interactive is planning on doing going forward. Now, there was a really, really good video, a no-clip documentary that had them go to IO Interactive and talk a bit about kind of the past, what happened when Square was like selling them off. They ended up buying out themselves, basically moved on. They had Hitman, so Hitman 2 comes out, and it was a pretty cool story. I would go check that video out. But towards the end, they really start talking about Hitman 3. Like, it's like they've already envisioned it, and it almost sounded like they were already developing it. But what's interesting about IO Interactive is their next thing is supposed to be a new IP. Yeah, so they're building something other than Hitman, and they seem to be very confident about this whole game, this new IP that they're developing. But for Hitman fans, it sounds like they do want to get Hitman 3 done. They keep talking about how it's like this trilogy and how Hitman 3 is already planned out and it's being worked on, and then it's not being worked on yet because they're doing the new IP. It sounds like they were trying to tell everyone that, hey guys, don't worry, Hitman 3 is coming, but we're going to work on our new IP right now. So interesting stuff there from IO. Again, it's cool to see them be able to buy themselves out and now work on a new Hitman game and a new IP. So interesting stuff there. Also, if you've been enjoying Fire Emblem, but maybe you are really, really attached to one of the houses right now because you're playing through them and you're like, this house is better than the other two. Well, Nintendo's actually provided a way for you to print out custom cover art to show that off. As you can see here, they have the full page up where it's 50 platinum coins. Not very difficult to get those. In fact, you may just have those sitting around at this point. But you can actually get 3 different cover art variants, as you can see, where you have, of course, you have blue lions, you have the golden deer, and then you have, of course, black eagles, all there, and you can choose which one that you want to use and you can print it out. I would say use an inkjet printer and some matte photo paper, and you should be able to get a pretty good looking image out of that as long as your printer is good enough and your ink's not running out. But it's cool to see this. I like these customizable things. I don't know if they need to put them behind. I know like the platinum coins aren't that hard to get or anything, but it's interesting they don't just release them like on Twitter as just free, just help promote the game further, but I guess they want some imaginary coins for the cover art. Either way, pretty cool to see that, and you can customize your box art how you want. Also, real quick, we had already talked about Yokai Watch 1 being announced. It's coming out in Japan October 10th for the Switch, but they released a whole slew of screenshots as you're seeing here, and it does look like they pretty much made the jump from 3DS to Switch and have made it much cleaner looking, we'll say that. I mean, the 3DS, of course, is bottlenecked by its resolution and then other parts of the system, but looking at it now, it's not easy on the eyes. So seeing Yokai Watch 1, which is a game that I honestly didn't really play, to come to the Switch kind of looking like that is great. We just need to wait to hear about a localization, because as of now, it's only planned for Japan. The Switch is region free, but again, we also need to see if it's going to have an English option in Japan. If not, we'll just have to wait for it to come over. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. And we're going to start with new Super Lucky's Tale, because we had heard that another Xbox game was coming over and it was Super Lucky's Tale. And now they have new Super Lucky's Tale for the Switch. It is coming out November 8th. They have a full physical copy that they showed off in a new trailer. And here's the thing about Super Lucky's Tale. I did a video on it when it came out on the original, or the Xbox One at the time, Xbox One X and everything, and I thought the gameplay was good, but my biggest issue is that the characters are not memorable. It was really funny because when it first came out, I remember looking at it and saying, this would have been a very good Conkers game, like a Conker's Bad Fur Day style, platformer or something if they had leaned into that. It's just the characters felt super dramatic, but I always thought it felt kind of out of place on the Xbox One, because even when it released then, people said this would have done better on the Switch. And well, here's its chance. It's gonna get a second life, I think, on the Switch at this point, and coming out November 8th isn't bad. It's gonna get kind of close to Pokemon, and that might hurt it some, but this does fit in better on the Switch than it does on the Xbox, as a lot of people have picked up a Switch for platformers, right? We've Mario Odyssey, for example. We have the new Ukulele game coming out, the one that's kind of like the 2D platformer. We, of course, have Donkey Kong. There's a lot of platformers here that would, I think, work well to help bring in the crowd that would really enjoy something like Super Lucky's Tale. It is kind of old school. It feels old school. It feels like an older, like something that would belong a bit better in the Nintendo 64 or even like the GameCube days. So I think it will do better, and this new Super Lucky's Tale, according to them, is an expanded version of that game that released back in 2017. So I'm at least interested to check it again, but I played a good bit of it, and I really started to lose interest in it, because it just, outside of the gameplay, I really didn't even care that much about the characters, or there wasn't anything really fun going on. At least Ukulele, you can say that some of the gameplay, some of the decisions weren't great, but the characters are different enough to where I go, oh, okay, yep, this Ukulele, I get it. I recognize the main characters and everything. But I mean, look at the main character for Super Lucky's Tale, and it just, you probably wouldn't be able to pick them out. Like, you won't remember their names or anything for a lot of the characters, and that's the biggest problem. So we'll see. I mean, it's an expanded version. It's moving over to the Switch. It appears like everything's on the cartridge, so no download or anything. But hey, we'll check it out November 8th. Next up, let's talk about the leaked release date, it appears, for Smash Update 4.0.0. And the reason it's leaked is because Nintendo themselves seem to have posted it by accident. It appears like it was like a scheduled tweet. It was Nintendo Netherlands, and then, of course, Nintendo Europe both tweeted this out, and it looks like 4.0.0 is actually dropping the last day of July, so tomorrow, the 31st. And we assume the hero is going to be a part of that, as Joker was a part of Update 3.0.0 that just kind of dropped. Boom, here it is. Go get him. And it was pretty cool to see that just kind of release. And of course, in about an hour after this video goes up, Sakurai will actually sit down and play for like 20-something minutes, talk about the hero. He said it's not going to be like how a Nintendo Direct is, for example. It might just be him literally sitting down and playing and talking about his inspirations for, why the hero does this, this, and this, and here are some really cool movesets, and this is why this is designed this way. Just that way, basically, to kind of show you how the character plays and everything. And then it looks like there's a chance that Update 4.0.0 will also be expanded on, and even just said, hey, it's out tomorrow. You can just go get it tomorrow, right? Or later on today. I don't know. It depends on time zone differences and everything. You never know. It could be out like tomorrow night, right? Or I guess it could be out the 31st in the morning or something. But yeah, it seems like Nintendo just accidentally left those scheduled posts up. And here we are now expecting 4.0.0 to drop tomorrow. We'll see what other features or anything else are a part of it, as we had Stage Builder kind of leak out during our trailer, but up until now, there really hasn't been a lot of leaks around feature sets or anything. And then when this comes out, we can look forward to, I guess, the last few characters that have to be announced for Smash. So interesting stuff. We also have to get to when Banjo comes out, of course, later on in the year and everything. But now we get to start speculating as to the last two characters, and one of them could be interesting with some of the other rumors that are out there right now. Next up, we'll talk about Gamescom and EA. Gamescom, of course, taking place towards the end of August. We'll have some of the bigger companies show up there and announce some games. We talked about THQ Nordic seeming to have a large presence there, actually, with quite a few games and apparently a big reveal, which is going to be exciting to see what they have because of the number of IPs they have. But EA appears to be showing up there. This is actually reported by Push Square, and they are getting this information along with from other sources from FIFA Play. It's a fan site dedicated to online version of, well, FIFA, and it looks like EA will be showing up to Gamescom around 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, Monday, August 20th. And they're going to talk about all the different games that are coming out this year. FIFA, of course, that's going to be huge. They'll be talking about that quite a bit. You'll have Jedi Fallen Order, but there's still another game that they have not announced yet, and they have to because they said it's coming out this year. They told their investors that it's coming out this year. They told us it's coming out this year, but they haven't said anything about it, and that's Need for Speed. And I actually wonder what this is going to be because they're getting down to the wire, right? We expect Need for Speed to come out in October or November, but it's August just about, and we haven't heard anything about it. In fact, this would be like 2 months, 3 months possibly out from when it would release. So is this a brand new Need for Speed? Because if it was, I figured they would want to spend more time advertising it. Or, stay with me here, what if it's a remake of an old one, right? What if it's like an Underground 2 or a Carbon or Most Wanted? Not the last Most Wanted, the one before that, right? What if they did something like that? Because then they wouldn't need a massive amount of advertising, like to really show people the new game and everything. And to be honest, I think some people would be okay with Need for Speed going back, getting an older one and bringing it up with even some newer cars and stuff kind of added in. I think that would be really cool, actually. So we'll see. I mean, it's something to think about, and it is kind of weird that we haven't heard anything about a new Need for Speed game when they told us that there's supposed to be one, but we haven't seen anything, and it's like 2 or 3 months out from when it would release. And our last bit of news, let's talk about the Order 1886. It's a game that came out, 2015 on the PlayStation 4. It's the game that a lot of people make fun of for being fairly short, but the people who actually played it and didn't mind as much about the game length really liked what was there with the story. The visuals were like ridiculous, but it's always been thought of as being, there's supposed to be more to the story in the form of sequels. They've talked about it actually quite a bit, the different writers and developers around it, and it seems like we may have had a slip, but it doesn't really make as much sense. And this was on a podcast. The segment's been deleted, but after it came out, it seems that the original person who put this information out there had to backtrack a bit. Now, this is on the Gamerheads podcast, and Jordan Michael Lemos talked about the Order 1886 and about what would be next for it. He said, everyone should play the Order 1886, especially since I guess they're making a sequel. I don't know if it's the Order 1887. The last I heard, yeah, they were actually doing a second one, and this is assuming that Ready at Dawn would be doing this, because they did 1886. However, he actually had to go back and say, hey guys, I didn't really mean that. This was in a Twitter post saying, before this gets any more out of hand, I know nothing about a sequel. These are the types of articles I read last year, and I remembered reading 11 months later as there was one coming. Sorry to disappoint. Now, that is an odd thing to go on a podcast and talk about and then quickly say, oh, I didn't mean that. You know, that wasn't something I meant to say. But here's the thing about Ready at Dawn. They're working on a new IP, apparently. According to several job listings, they are hiring for a new IP that they're developing, and they've been working on things like Oculus games, stuff you wouldn't really expect them to work on after doing something like Order 1886. And now you figure they've had time to work on a new IP, if that is what they're doing, and they'd be ready to show it. The Order 1886 has actually sold fairly well. They've said the sales have been steady, but would they do a sequel now? I don't know. I think Ready at Dawn would be working on a new IP, as they've said in their listings, but hey, they could surprise us. They could say, hey, Order 1887 is coming, but would it be this generation because we're coming to the end of it? Maybe that's something for the PS5, we'll see. And let's finish up with a comment of the day from yesterday, as you're seeing here. This one's from Gaming Hash Brown saying, 1,000-Year Door Remaster. I wouldn't even care if it was the full price. I would definitely still buy it. And here's the thing. I read down the comments, and a lot of them said that they had never played the game because it came out on the GameCube, and that was kind of like before their time. And I keep thinking about this, and I keep forgetting that the GameCube, the PS2, and the original Xbox was a long time ago now. I mean, we're in a year or two, it's gonna be 20 years old. And I think about that and I say, wow, it really has been that long since the GameCube, the Xbox, and the PS2. The PS2 especially, because that came out before the other two. 20 years. So you have to think about that. As consoles cycle through, generations, new gamers cycle through, and 1,000-Year Door to a lot of people would be a brand new game. I think it would sell really, really well, possibly better than the original. So Nintendo, you should consider remastering 1,000-Year Door, at least a little bit. And guys, gonna do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's EA at Gamescom, Need for Speed, what's going on there? Like, why haven't they talked about it? Is it possibly a remake / remaster, or is it a brand new one? Maybe they don't want to talk about it because of the loot box stuff going on. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about that. What about Smash Bros. 4.0.0? What other features do you think could be in there? Or do you think they're just releasing it with some updates, like fixes and stuff and balancing, and then, oh, here's the hero? And I guess we'll see what happens in about an hour after this video goes up. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.